Where did you get that money?
Oh,
I found it. She didn't do it. Back away, sir.
I swear I didn't steal it.
Put the wallet down, Angela. Right now. Derek Collins' voice cut across the marble lobby of the Hawthorne Grand, sharp enough to turn every head within 20 feet. Angela Brooks froze beside the front desk, one hand still wrapped around the expensive black leather wallet she had been trying to return. Her housekeeping uniform was damp from the morning rain. Her shoes squeaked faintly against the polished floor, and suddenly every crystal chandelier above her seemed too bright. "I did not steal it," she said, keeping a voice steady even as her fingers trembled. "I found it on the bus." Derek stepped closer, his manager badge gleaming against his navy blazer. "Then why were you looking inside it?" A woman standing near the entrance lifted her chin. Angela recognized her from the number 22 bus. Melissa Grant, the woman who had spent most of the ride checking a reservation confirmation for the Hawthorne Grand on her phone. "I saw her," Melissa said. "She had that wallet open. There was cash inside." The lobby shifted. Conversations faded. A businessman near the elevators stopped walking. Two guests lowered their coffee cups. Someone quietly raised a phone and began recording. Angela felt their eyes move from the wallet to her uniform, then to her face. "I opened it to find the owner's name," she said. "There was a business card. I called the number." Derek held out his hand. "Give it to me." Angela hesitated. That hesitation was all he needed. "Security." Two hotel security officers approached with the practiced seriousness that made Angela's stomach tighten. She slowly placed the wallet on the marble counter. Derek opened it in front of everyone. Several $100 bills rested neatly inside, untouched. His eyebrows rose. "That is a lot of money for someone to just find." Angela's eyes hardened. "What exactly is that supposed to mean?" Derek ignored the question and began counting the bills. Each crisp note hitting the counter sounded louder than it should have. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. More whispers spread through the lobby. Angela could feel heat climbing into her cheeks, but she refused to look down. "Call the police," someone murmured. Derek glanced toward hotel security. One officer had already contacted the local precinct several minutes earlier, after Derek described the situation as a disputed property complaint. Angela drew a slow breath. "You do not have to believe me," she said quietly. "But you do not get to humiliate me." Derek reached toward the name tag pinned above her heart. Angela stepped back before he could touch it and removed the badge herself. Her hand shook, but her eyes did not. "Check my phone. Call the number I called. Ask her what she actually saw." Derek turned the wallet over and pulled out a driver's license. The confidence on his face disappeared. The name printed beneath the photograph was Vincent Romano. None of the guests understood why Derek suddenly went pale. Angela did not either. She had no idea that the man whose wallet she had found controlled one of Chicago's largest private hospitality and logistics groups. She only knew she had changed her route, risked being late for work, and ended up walking 6 blocks through the rain because she had chosen to return something that was not hers. Outside, a police cruiser responding to the hotel's call turned onto the block, and across town, Vincent Romano was about to discover that the stranger trying to return his property was being treated like a thief for doing exactly that. 47 minutes earlier, Vincent had been sitting in the back of a black Bentley when the engine coughed once, shuddered beneath him, and went silent in the middle of morning traffic. For a man accustomed to controlling schedules down to the minute, the sound was almost insulting. He glanced at the silver watch on his wrist, 8:12. His meeting downtown began at 9, and the line of cars ahead stretched beneath a gray Chicago sky, slick with rain. "How long?" Vincent asked. His driver tried the ignition again, then looked into the rearview mirror. "At least 30 minutes for another car, Mr. Romano. Maybe longer with the accident ahead." Vincent stared through the window at commuters moving faster on foot than his car could manage. Across the street, a city bus hissed to a stop beneath a shelter. The doors opened. People climbed aboard, carrying coffee, backpacks, lunch bags, and umbrellas. Vincent loosened his jaw. "I will take the bus." His driver turned around so quickly that Vincent almost smiled. "Sir? You heard me." One of the security men in the front passenger seat reached for the door. "We will come with you." Vincent shook his head. "No, stay with the car." Minutes later, one of the most powerful men in Chicago stood beneath the harsh fluorescent lights of a city bus, one hand gripping a metal rail while wet coats brushed past him. Nobody recognized him. Nobody moved aside. Nobody lowered their voice when he entered. A teenager wearing headphones occupied the aisle seat nearest him. An older man slept against the window. Somewhere behind Vincent, a baby fussed softly. The anonymity should have annoyed him. Instead, it unsettled him in a way he could not explain. At the next stop, a black woman in a dark housekeeping uniform climbed aboard, carrying a warm canvas tote. Angela Brooks. Vincent did not know her name yet. He noticed only that she looked tired, and that she apologized when her wet sleeve brushed another passenger. Several rows behind her, Melissa Grant checked the address and reservation confirmation for the Hawthorne Grand on her phone before slipping it back into her purse. A few minutes later, an elderly woman entered with a grocery cart and scanned the crowded bus for a seat. Before anyone else moved, Angela stood. "You can sit here, ma'am." The woman smiled gratefully. "Bless you, honey." Angela remained standing for several stops, one hand gripping the overhead rail while she checked the time on her phone. Vincent watched for half a second, then looked away. He had spent years training himself not to notice strangers. Strangers complicated things. Strangers wanted favors, access, money, or explanations. When his stop arrived, Vincent stepped toward the rear door, reached into his coat for his phone, and never felt the black leather wallet slide from the inside pocket. It landed on the rubber floor beneath the rumble of the bus. The doors closed behind him. Vincent disappeared into the rain. Angela sat down after the elderly woman exited 2 stops later. Her shoe touched something beneath the seat. She bent down and picked up the wallet. The leather alone told her it was expensive. She looked toward the front of the bus, then toward the rear doors, remembering the tall white man in the charcoal suit who had recently gotten off. She opened the wallet carefully, looking for identification. The first thing she saw was money. More cash than she had held at one time in years. The second was a driver's license. Vincent Romano. Angela looked at the route display, then at the clock on her phone. If she left her route now to try to locate him, she could be late for work. She had already received 2 warnings. One more could cost her the job she had held for 6 years. She looked at the money again, then closed the wallet. The bus approached the next stop. Angela stood up. Rain immediately spotted the shoulders of her uniform when she stepped onto the sidewalk. For 3 seconds, she considered running toward the corner where Vincent had disappeared. Then she looked at the time, 8:27. Her shift began at 8:45. The Hawthorne Grand was still nearly 2 miles away, and Derek Collins had already warned her twice about being late. One more incident, he had said, and there would be consequences. Angela stood beneath the bus shelter while traffic hissed over wet pavement and opened the wallet again. The cash seemed almost unreal against the dark leather, $100 bills folded neatly. More money than she could afford to lose and more money than she could afford to ignore. Her checking account had $43 until Friday. Her daughter Kayla needed a new calculator for school. The heating unit in their apartment had started making a grinding noise 3 nights earlier. There was still a medical bill in a kitchen drawer from the final months of her husband Anthony's illness. A bill Angela sometimes turned face down because seeing the number made her chest tighten. She did not count the cash. She did not need to. There was enough there to make life easier for a while. That was the dangerous part. Angela closed her eyes for 1 second. She imagined paying the electric bill ahead, buying groceries without calculating every item in the cart, replacing the worn tires on her old sedan that had been sitting unused because she could not afford the repair. Then another thought came, quieter and harder to escape. Anthony had once told Kayla, when she was 9, that character was what remained when nobody was watching. Angela could almost hear his voice now. She opened her eyes and pushed the money deeper into the wallet without taking a single bill. Behind the cash, she found a business card with Vincent Romano's name and a direct office number. Beneath it was an old photograph of an older white woman standing in a small kitchen, flour on her hands, smiling at someone outside the frame. Angela turned the photograph over. A handwritten sentence crossed the back. Never become too important to notice people. Angela stared at the words longer than she meant to. Then she took out her phone and called the number. A woman answered after 2 rings. Romano Holdings. My name is Angela Brooks. I found a wallet belonging to Mr. Vincent Romano on the number 22 bus. There was a pause. You found Mr. Romano's wallet? Yes, ma'am. Where are you now? Angela gave the intersection. The woman asked whether Angela could hand it to a company driver. Angela looked down at the wallet. I would rather return it directly to Mr. Romano or to someone he personally confirms. Another pause. Why? Angela glanced at the cash. Because there is a lot of money in here, and if anything is missing after I hand it over, I want there to be no question about who had it. The woman's tone softened. I understand. I will make a note of your name and the time you called. Angela thanked her, tucked the wallet deep inside her canvas tote, and checked the time again. 8:34. She had 11 minutes. A bus toward downtown appeared at the far end of the block. Angela ran for it. She had no idea that Melissa Grant had also left the first bus shortly after her. Melissa had seen Angela open the wallet, but had not seen it fall. She had seen the cash, but not the identification. And because Melissa was already headed to the Hawthorne Grand for a business stay, their paths were about to cross again. Angela reached the hotel at 8:46, 1 minute late and breathing hard after walking the final 6 blocks, when the second bus stalled in traffic. The lobby smelled faintly of coffee, polished wood, and the expensive floral arrangement replaced every Monday morning. She slipped through the employee entrance, tightened the strap of her canvas tote, and hoped Derek Collins would still be upstairs reviewing schedules. He was not. 1 minute, Derek said from beside the time clock. Angela stopped. I know, the bus was delayed. Derek glanced at the clock, then at her. There is always something. Angela swallowed the answer that rose in her throat. She had learned that arguing with Derek rarely changed anything. I am here now. That is not the point. His voice carried just enough to make 2 employees nearby glance over. Angela lowered hers. I called Human Resources last month when you kept the housekeeping team 30 minutes past shift without adding the time. I showed up for every meeting after that. I have not missed a day. Derek's expression tightened. He remembered that complaint. He had called it unnecessary. Human Resources had called it valid. Since then, every mistake Angela made seemed to interest him more than everyone else's. Go change your card assignment, he said. We will talk later. Angela nodded and started toward the service hallway. That should have been the end of it. Then the revolving doors at the front entrance turned, and Melissa Grant entered, pulling a small suitcase behind her. Derek recognized her as a returning business guest. Mr. Collins, Melissa called. Can I speak with you? Derek stepped toward her. Of course. Melissa lowered her voice, but not enough. That employee who just walked away. I saw her on the bus. Derek looked toward Angela. What about her? Melissa hesitated. She had a man's wallet open. A very expensive one. There was cash inside. Derek's eyes narrowed. You saw her take it? Not exactly. I saw her holding it after a man in a suit got off. That distinction should have slowed him down. Instead, Derek asked the question that supported what he had already begun to believe. And she was looking through it? Yes. Melissa folded her arms. I thought you should know. Derek turned immediately. Angela. She stopped near the hallway door. Something in his tone made her stomach sink. Come back here. Angela walked toward them slowly. Melissa avoided her eyes. Derek pointed at the canvas tote. Is there a wallet in that bag? Angela stared at him. Yes. His face hardened with satisfaction. Whose? A man named Vincent Romano. I found it on the bus. I already called his office. Melissa shook her head. That is not what it looked like. Angela turned to her. What exactly did you see? Melissa opened her mouth, then paused. I saw you with the wallet open. Did you see me take it? Silence. Angela's voice stayed calm. Did you see it fall? Melissa looked away. No. Angela nodded once. Then you saw half of something and decided you knew the whole story. Derek stepped between them. Enough! Open the bag. Angela's jaw tightened. Why? Because if you're telling the truth, you have nothing to worry about. The sentence landed harder than he intended. Angela looked around the lobby. Guests were beginning to notice. I called the owner's office before I ever walked into this building. Then prove it. Angela slowly pulled the wallet from her tote. Derek reached for it, but she kept hold for 1 second longer. Do not turn this into something it is not. Derek's eyes went cold. That depends on what is inside. He carried the wallet to the front desk as if it were evidence. Everybody stay right here, he said, though no one had tried to leave. Angela followed slowly, aware that the lobby had grown unnaturally quiet. The soft music from the ceiling speakers continued, but conversations had stopped. A man near the elevators lowered his newspaper. A woman holding a coffee cup turned completely around. Melissa stood several feet away, watching the situation become larger than anything she had actually witnessed. Derek opened the wallet beneath the bright lobby lights. There's a lot of cash here. Angela's face tightened. I already told you that. He began placing the bills on the marble counter in neat stacks. Angela could feel people studying her now, not the money. Her warm uniform, her canvas tote, her housekeeping shoes still damp from the rain. She recognized the judgment before anyone said it aloud. Stop counting it like I brought it here for myself, Angela said. Derek did not look up. If everything is legitimate, this will be simple. Simple for who? She asked. That made him pause. Angela pulled out her phone. Look at my call history. I called Romano Holdings at 8:34 this morning, before I came through those doors. Derek glanced at the screen but did not take it. Anyone could make a phone call. Then call the number back. Melissa shifted uncomfortably. Maybe she really was trying to return it. Derek looked at her. You were the one who reported what you saw. I reported that she had the wallet open. I never said I saw her steal it. The distinction came too late. Two guests were already recording with their phones. One of the hotel's security officers stepped closer to Angela. "Ma'am, would you mind showing us what else is in your bag?" Angela stared at him. "You think I took something from the wallet and hid it?" "We are trying to clear this up." Angela knew she could refuse, but she also knew how refusal would look to people who had already decided what kind of story they were watching. Slowly, she placed her tote on the counter and opened it herself. A lunch container, a folded umbrella, a paperback novel, hand lotion, a small envelope with Kayla's school permission slip. Nothing else. "Satisfied?" she asked. No one answered. Derek gathered the bills and looked at Angela's employee badge. "Until we know what happened, you are off duty." Angela touched the badge above her heart. 6 years of work suddenly felt reduced to a piece of plastic. "You have my phone record. You have a witness who admits she never saw me take anything. You have a wallet with every dollar still inside." Derek extended his hand. "Your badge, Angela." Her eyes burned, but she refused to give in the satisfaction of seeing her break. She removed it herself and placed it beside the wallet. "You do not have to believe me," she said quietly, "but you do not get to humiliate me." At that moment, 2 police officers responding to the hotel's property complaint entered the lobby. Derek straightened. Angela looked at them, then at the black wallet lying beside her name badge. For the first time that morning, fear moved through her. Not because she had done anything wrong, but because she understood how quickly innocence could become something a person was forced to prove. Across town, Vincent Romano reached inside his coat for the wallet and felt nothing. He stopped in the middle of the private conference room while 3 executives continued speaking around the polished walnut table. "Mr. Romano?" Daniel Russo asked. Vincent checked the other pocket, then the inside of his jacket. Empty. "My wallet." Daniel immediately reached for his phone. "I will have the cards frozen." "Do it." Vincent's voice remained calm, almost indifferent. Money could be replaced. Cards could be canceled. Then he remembered what else was inside. The photograph. His mother standing in the kitchen of the first apartment she had rented after coming to Chicago. Flour on her hands. Smiling before life became complicated by money and power. Vincent's expression changed. "There is a photograph inside." Daniel looked up. "Of your mother?" Vincent nodded once. "Find the wallet." Daniel stepped aside and began making calls. Less than a minute later, Daniel's assistant called back with an answer. "A woman contacted the office this morning," Daniel said. "Angela Brooks. She said she found your wallet on the number 22 bus." Vincent turned toward him. "When?" 8:34. "Before I noticed it was missing." "Yes." Daniel checked the notes from the office. "She asked to return it directly to you or to someone you personally confirmed. She specifically mentioned the cash and said she wanted a clear record of who received it." Vincent's eyes narrowed, not with suspicion, but curiosity. "Where does she work?" Daniel typed the name into his phone. The Hawthorne Grand. Vincent knew it well. Romano Holdings held the controlling interest in the hospitality group that operated the property. Daniel's phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from a senior manager at the hotel who had recognized Vincent's name after seeing the identification in the wallet. Attached was a short video already circulating among employees. Daniel watched several seconds and stopped. "You need to see this." He handed the phone to Vincent. On the screen, Angela stood beside the front desk in her housekeeping uniform, while Derek Collins counted Vincent's money in front of a growing crowd. Vincent watched without blinking. He heard Angela explain that she had called his office. He heard Derek dismiss the call. He watched her open her canvas tote while strangers stared. Then Derek held out his hand for her employee badge. Vincent's jaw tightened. "Play it again." Daniel did. The second time, Vincent noticed something he had missed that morning. Angela was the woman from the bus. The woman who had given her seat to the elderly passenger without hesitation. He remembered her standing in the aisle while everyone else looked away. Now those same tired eyes were facing a room full of people who had decided that having his wallet made her guilty. The video reached Angela's quiet sentence, "You do not have to believe me, but you do not get to humiliate me." Vincent went completely still. Daniel knew that stillness. It meant the decision had already been made. "She called before anyone accused her," Vincent said. "Yes." "The office documented the time and what she said?" "Yes." "And the hotel never bothered to verify it before treating her like this?" Daniel's expression hardened. "Apparently not." Vincent picked up his coat. "Cancel the meeting." One executive stood. "Mr. Romano, the investors are already waiting." Vincent looked at him once. "Then they can continue waiting." Daniel followed him toward the door. "Should I call the hotel first?" "No." Vincent's voice was quiet and controlled. "I want to hear what they say when they do not know I am listening." By the time Vincent entered the Hawthorne Grand, the police officers were speaking calmly with hotel security near the front desk, and Derek was explaining the situation with the confidence of a man certain that his judgment would be supported. Vincent stopped just inside the lobby with Daniel 2 steps behind him. No one noticed them at first. "She claims she found it on the bus," Derek said. "But we have a guest who saw her going through it." Angela stood beside the counter, shoulders straight despite the exhaustion in her face. "She saw me open it. She did not see me take it." One officer looked at Melissa. "Is that correct?" Melissa shifted her weight. "Yes, I never actually saw her take it." Derek frowned. "But she had it. That is the point." Angela looked at him. "No, the point is that you decided what happened before you checked anything." Derek's expression hardened. "Watch your tone." Vincent remained near the entrance, silent. Angela drew a slow breath. "I gave you the phone record. I told you I called the owner's office. You could have made one phone call." Derek leaned closer. "People say a lot of things when they're trying to protect themselves." Something inside Vincent went still. Angela's eyes shone, yet her voice did not break. And people hear what they want when they have already decided what someone is worth. The lobby fell quiet. Derek gave a short, humorless laugh. "You are a housekeeper, Angela. Do not turn this into something bigger than it is." Vincent finally moved. His shoes made almost no sound across the marble, but the general manager near the elevators saw him first and went pale. "Mr. Romano." Derek turned. The color left his face. Vincent walked directly to the counter and rested his hand beside the black wallet. "Interesting," he said softly. "Because she has been trying to return that wallet to me all morning." Nobody spoke. Angela stared at him, recognizing the man from the bus. Vincent opened the wallet and checked the contents. The cash was there. The cards were there. Then he found the photograph of his mother and held it for 1 second before returning it to its place. "Everything appears to be exactly where I left it." Derek swallowed. "Mr. Romano, we were only trying to protect your property." Vincent raised his eyes. "By humiliating the person who protected it?" Derek opened his mouth, but Vincent continued. "My office received her call at 8:34. We recorded her name, where she found the wallet, and are concerned that the cash be transferred directly to someone I authorized. All of that happened before she entered this hotel." He looked toward Melissa. "Did you see her take my wallet?" Melissa lowered her eyes. No. Did you see it fall? No. Did you see her remove any money? No. Vincent turned back to Derek. So you had a witness who never witnessed a theft, a phone record you chose not to verify, and a wallet that still contains what I put inside it. One of the police officers nodded. Based on what we have here, there is no basis to treat Miss Brooks as a theft suspect. We can document the report, and if necessary, transit records can be requested through the proper process. Derek's confidence disappeared. Vincent did not raise his voice. You saw her uniform before you saw her character. The words settled across the lobby. Derek lowered his eyes. Melissa looked away. The guests who had been recording suddenly seemed uncomfortable holding their phones. Angela said nothing. She did not need to. For the first time that morning, the room was looking at her not as a suspect, not merely as a maid, and not as a woman required to explain why she was holding something expensive, but as the person who had done exactly what she said she had done. Vincent picked up her employee badge from the counter and held it out. Angela took it slowly. Her hand was steady now. In the days that followed, transit footage obtained through the formal review confirmed every detail. Vincent leaving the bus, the wallet falling unnoticed, and Angela finding it only after he was gone. By then, however, the truth had already been clear to everyone who had finally bothered to listen. Vincent kept his eyes on Angela while the lobby slowly returned to motion around them. The police officers completed their report and left after confirming there was nothing criminal to investigate. Several guests lowered their phones as if suddenly ashamed of having recorded her worst moment. Derek remained near the counter, silent now. Vincent opened his wallet, removed a thick stack of $100 bills, and held it toward Angela. Take this. She looked at the money, then at him. For what? For returning my wallet? For changing your route? For being late because of it? For everything you have put through afterward? Angela did not reach for the cash. No. Vincent seemed genuinely surprised. You returned several $1,000s when you could have walked away with it. That does not mean I am owed a percentage. Consider it a reward. Angela shook her head. Then I still do not want it. The lobby grew quiet again, but this silence felt different. Vincent had spent most of his adult life around people who negotiated for more. More money, more access, more influence. Angela Brooks stood in a damp housekeeping uniform with bills waiting at home, and refused an amount that could have made her month considerably easier. Why? He asked. Angela looked toward Derek, then toward the employees gathered near the service hallway. Because if you really want to repay me, make sure the next woman wearing this uniform does not have to prove she is human before somebody believes her. Vincent's hand lowered slowly. Angela continued, her voice calm. Today it was your wallet. Tomorrow it could be a guest's watch, a missing envelope, anything expensive enough for someone to decide the housekeeper must have taken it. I had a phone record. I had a witness who admitted she never saw me steal anything. The money was still there. None of that mattered until you walked through those doors. Vincent looked across the lobby. No one met his eyes. He returned the money to his wallet. Daniel Russo stepped forward. Yes. As the controlling owner, Romano Holdings will require a full independent review of how employee complaints and property accusations are handled across this hotel group. The general manager nodded. Vincent continued. This is not about whose wallet it was. It is about how you treated her. Then he looked at Derek. And every previous complaint involving Mr. Collins will be reviewed by Human Resources and outside Employee Relations Council. Derek swallowed. Mr. Romano, I can explain. Vincent's voice remained quiet. You already showed me enough. Derek lowered his gaze. Angela did not smile. She had never wanted revenge. She wanted something harder to achieve and more valuable to keep. Change. Vincent turned back to her. You could ask for something reasonable right now. Angela considered that. Then give the housekeeping staff a way to report problems without going through the manager they are reporting. Daniel glanced at Vincent. Vincent nodded. That should already exist. Angela picked up her canvas tote and fastened her employee badge back above her heart. Vincent watched her smooth the fabric beneath it. The gesture was small, almost ordinary, but he understood what had happened. He had arrived expecting to fix what had been done to her. Instead, Angela had refused his money, refused his pity, and reminded him that respect meant more when it did not depend on power. 3 months later, the Hawthorne Grand felt different in ways that could not be measured by new carpet or polished brass. The hotel group had created an independent employee reporting line, and any accusation involving an employee and missing guest property had to be documented and reviewed before disciplinary action could be taken. Housekeeping workers could now speak directly with human resources or an outside employee advocate without going through the supervisor involved in the complaint. Angela still wore the same uniform. She still arrived early, pushed the same cart through the same hallways, and carried the same canvas tote. But something had changed in the way people listened when she spoke. Derek Collins had been removed from management after the review uncovered several employee complaints that had never been handled properly. He remained with the company in a non-supervisory position while completing additional training. Angela had been asked whether she wanted him fired. Her answer surprised people. I want the system fixed more than I want one man punished. Vincent remembered those words. They followed him into boardrooms, private offices, and meetings where workers were too often discussed only as numbers on spreadsheets. One cold afternoon, after completing a quarterly operations review at the Hawthorne Grand, Vincent stepped outside with Daniel. A maintenance worker hurried across the sidewalk ahead of them. A brown wallet slipped from the man's jacket and landed near the curb. The worker kept walking. Daniel moved instinctively to retrieve it, but Vincent raised a hand. I have it. He bent down, picked up the wallet, and called after the man. Sir! The worker turned. Vincent walked the 20 feet between them and held it out. You dropped this. The man checked inside and released a long breath. Thank you. My whole week is in here. Vincent nodded. I understand. The man smiled, unaware of who he was speaking to, then continued toward the train station. Vincent stood there for a moment, holding nothing but the strange weight of a memory. Across the street, beside the bus shelter employees used after their shifts, Angela stood wrapped in a navy coat over her uniform. She had seen everything. Vincent crossed the street. Angela looked toward the black sedan waiting near the hotel entrance. Car working today? Perfectly. And what are you doing over here? Vincent glanced toward the approaching bus. Learning not to move so fast. Angela smiled. That sounds expensive. It has been. The bus doors opened. Angela stepped forward, then looked back. You riding? Vincent glanced at Daniel, who tried very hard not to react. Apparently. They climbed aboard together. This time, Vincent knew how to pay the fare. Angela noticed. Look at you. I learned quickly. They found 2 seats near the middle. As the bus moved through late afternoon traffic, Vincent reached into his coat and checked his wallet. The old photograph of his mother was still inside. So was the handwritten message on the back. Never become too important to notice people. He finally understood why she had kept that sentence close to him. Money had taught Vincent how to protect what belonged to him. Angela had taught him something harder, how to notice what belonged to someone else. Their time, their dignity, their right to be heard before being judged. At the next stop, an elderly woman climbed aboard. Vincent stood immediately and offered his seat. Angela watched him without saying a word. He caught her expression and gave the smallest smile. Months earlier, Angela had returned his wallet. What she had really returned was something he had misplaced long before that rainy morning on the bus. And that day, the world remembered what dignity looks like.